The year is 1917. The world is at war, and in Russia a storm is brewing. The Romanov dynasty is on the brink of collapse, and society is about to be torn apart. The Soviet Revolution wasn't just a moment in history. It was a seismic shift that redefined the 20th century. Join me as we delve into the heart of the Soviet Revolution. The Soviet Revolution was a dramatic saga unfolding in two distinct acts. The February Revolution ended the three-century reign of the Romanov dynasty. The Tsar abdicated, and a provisional government attempted to fill the void. The October Revolution saw the Bolsheviks, led by Lenin, seize control. The Bolsheviks' promise of peace, land and bread resonated with the masses. This dual revolution would have profound implications for Russia and the world. As the February Revolution sent shockwaves through Russia, the streets were filled with chaos and the air was thick with the cries of the people demanding change. The Tsarist regime was crumbling, and the old order was being swept away by a tide of revolutionary fervor. Far away in Zurich, Switzerland, Vladimir Lenin watched these events unfold with keen interest. Exiled from his homeland, he had spent years in Switzerland, writing, planning, and waiting for the right moment to return and lead the revolution. Recognizing the opportunity presented by the upheaval in Russia, Lenin decided to embark on an audacious journey back to his homeland. He knew that his presence could be the spark needed to ignite the revolutionary fire. His vehicle for this daring return was a sealed train provided by Germany, Russia's wartime enemy. The Germans saw in Lenin a potential ally who could further destabilize Russia from within, thereby weakening their adversary in the ongoing world war. Germany's strategic move was to facilitate Lenin's return, hoping that his revolutionary activities would create internal chaos in Russia, diverting attention and resources away from the war front. They believed Lenin could be the catalyst to bring about the collapse of the Russian war effort. Lenin's arrival in Petrograd in April 1917 was nothing short of momentous. He was greeted by throngs of supporters, and his return galvanized the Bolsheviks, who were eager to seize the moment and push forward with their revolutionary agenda. The man who had spent years in exile, tirelessly working towards the revolution, now stood at the center of the storm. With his leadership, the Bolsheviks were ready to seize the reins of power and steer Russia towards a new future, forever altering the course of history. The spark that ignited the February Revolution came from the women of Petrograd. On International Women's Day, 1917, thousands of women took to the streets. They marched for bread, peace, and an end to the war. The women's protest escalated into a citywide strike, paralyzing Petrograd. Soldiers sharing the women's plight joined the protesters. The Women's March proved to be the catalyst for the downfall of the Tsar. To understand the Soviet Revolution, one must understand the Soviets. Councils of workers, soldiers, and peasants. These councils were not just administrative bodies, they were the heartbeat of the revolution, representing the collective will and aspirations of the common people. They emerged spontaneously during the 1905 revolution and reappeared with even greater significance in 1917. These Soviets were vibrant organs of self-governance, embodying the revolutionary spirit. They were forums where workers, soldiers, and peasants could directly participate in decision-making processes, ensuring that their voices were heard and their needs addressed. The energy and enthusiasm in these meetings were palpable as people from all walks of life came together to shape their future. They provided a platform for ordinary people to voice grievances and mobilize for action. In these councils, debates were fierce and discussions were intense, reflecting the urgency and passion of the times. The Soviets were not just about governance, they were about empowerment, giving the masses a sense of ownership over their destiny. The Bolsheviks deftly maneuvered to gain control of these councils. Recognizing the Soviets' potential as instruments of power, they strategically positioned themselves within these bodies, advocating for radical change and rallying support for their cause. Their ability to articulate the frustrations and hopes of the people allowed them to gain significant influence. Their slogan, "All power to the Soviets," resonated deeply with the people. It encapsulated the essence of the revolution, promising a new order where power truly lay in the hands of the masses. This rallying cry galvanized the population, uniting them under a common vision of a society free from oppression and inequality. The Soviets became the true engines of change, embodying the aspirations of millions. They were the crucibles where revolutionary ideas were forged and tested, driving the momentum of the revolution forward. Through their actions and decisions, the Soviets played a pivotal role in shaping the course of Russian history, leaving an indelible mark on the world. The storming of the Winter Palace is one of the most iconic images of the Soviet Revolution. The reality of that night is far more nuanced than the romanticized narrative. The Winter Palace had become the seat of the provisional government. The Bolsheviks, under Trotsky, meticulously planned their operation. Red Guards encountered minimal opposition, and the provisional government was arrested. The storming of the Winter Palace cemented the Bolsheviks' control of Petrograd. The Russian Civil War pitted the Bolsheviks against the Whites. At the helm of the Red Army stood Leon Trotsky, whose strategic brilliance was decisive. Trotsky transformed a ragtag army into a disciplined fighting force. He instilled in his troops an unwavering belief in their cause. Trotsky's leadership during the Civil War cemented his reputation as a brilliant strategist. He secured the survival of the Bolshevik Revolution. The peasantry formed the bedrock of the Bolsheviks' rise to power. The peasants' yearning for land proved to be a potent force in shaping the revolution. Lenin's decree, "Land to the peasants," resonated deeply in the countryside. The peasants rose up against their former masters, seizing land. The Bolsheviks secured a powerful base of support by aligning with the peasants' aspirations. The peasants' hunger for land played a pivotal role in the revolution's outcome. The execution of Tsar Nicholas II and his family is shrouded in mystery. The Romanovs, once the epitome of Russian imperial power, found themselves prisoners in their own land. Their fate was sealed in the dimly lit rooms of the Ipatiev house in Ekaterinburg. On a cold July night in 1918, the Romanov dynasty met a brutal end. The family, including Tsar Nicholas, his wife Alexandra, and their 5 children, were awakened and led to a basement room under the pretense of being moved to a safer location. The executioners, members of the Cheka, opened fire, cutting down the entire family. The room echoed with the sounds of gunfire, screams, and chaos. The children, some of whom were wearing hidden jewels sewn into their clothing, did not die immediately, leading to a prolonged and horrific scene. The decision to execute the Romanovs was shrouded in secrecy. Lenin and the Bolshevik leadership feared that the Tsar could become a symbol for the White Army and other anti-Bolshevik forces. Secret meetings and discussions led to the final grim decision. The execution was intended to eliminate the threat of the Tsar as a rallying point. The Bolsheviks wanted to ensure that there would be no figurehead around whom their enemies could rally. The Romanovs' death was a message to the world that the old order was irrevocably gone. The brutal slaying of the Romanovs marked the definitive end of an era. It was not just the end of a family, but the end of centuries of imperial rule in Russia. The Soviet Union emerged from the shadows of the Romanov dynasty, heralding a new tumultuous chapter in Russian history. The Russian Revolution drew in foreign powers, transforming a local struggle into an international crisis. Western nations sent troops and supplies to support the White Armies. Their motivations ranged from restoring the Eastern Front to fearing Bolshevism's spread. Foreign intervention ultimately backfired, rallying support for the Bolsheviks. The presence of foreign troops deepened divisions and prolonged the civil war. The Bolsheviks emerged victorious, consolidating their power. The Soviet Revolution was a seismic shockwave that reverberated across the globe. It ignited revolutionary movements worldwide, inspiring millions. The Soviet Union became a beacon for communist and socialist movements. The revolution reshaped the geopolitical landscape leading to the Cold War. Its impact extended beyond politics, influencing art, literature, and culture. The revolution's legacy continues to shape our world today. The Soviet Revolution reshaped nations and ideologies, leaving an indelible mark on the 20th century. It challenged the foundations of capitalism and inspired millions. The revolution's legacy is complex, marked by hope and suffering. Its impact is still felt today in debates about economic inequality and social justice. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more history deep dives.